everybody, Lorraine Sish here from stampwithlorraine.com. Welcome back. If you've been to my channel before, I appreciate you coming back and finding out some new projects to learn. If you're new, I welcome you as well. So I hope you enjoy what you're going to see today. Today, I'm just doing something that is so quick and easy. You're going to make 3 cards at once, very simply. And for me, right here in the US, it's summertime, and sometimes people are busy doing different activities or running out. You don't have a whole lot of time to do some stamping. Maybe you have a little bit more. You can save the harder projects for those times. But when you need something quick and you want to have a little stash for some backup cards, then this is the project for you. We are going to do what's called a 3-panel card, but we're going to stamp 3 different colors, mix and match the fronts, and then you'll end up with 3 cards in the long run with pretty much just one kind of stamping layout. So you can use some rich colors. You can use some softer colors. Kind of matches my shirt, doesn't it? You can use bright colors, and you can use a variety of stamps with this. So it really is so versatile and so fun and so easy. Just whip those up 1, 2, 3. Not any fancy measurements, not a fancy fold this time, but there are some fun combination of colors. That's one of the things that we can do with this. Kind of mix and match and discover some new colors. A little while ago, a few days ago, I put a challenge out on my Facebook page to have people suggest 3 colors in a combination that I could use on one card. And then I took those suggestions and I made them into some of the cards you're going to see today. So I'll try to show you all of those at the end, all the color combinations. Maybe you'll find a color combination you like. So kind of be open to some new things. You can also go over to my Facebook page and see what other people have done, because I challenged people to then do the project on their own. You can also see the tutorial there on my Facebook page as I did the challenge each day. So that's kind of something fun, something different to do. So I hope you enjoy this today. I hope you try some of your own, and remember, stay tuned to the very end where you'll see all of my projects listed and just pictured there, and hope you're inspired to try some of your own. Don't forget to go to stampwithlorraine.com to see some more suggestions and to sign up for my newsletter. Stay in touch. I send out a weekly newsletter with tips and tricks and Stampin' Up! Specials, and hopefully you can take advantage of some of that as well. Okay, so enjoy the tutorial. Okay, I'm using Celebrate Sunflowers, and we're going to create a 3-panel card, but we're going to do it in a way where you're going to get 3 of them, because it's going to be a quick and easy way to get multiples here. And they'll all be slightly different, but using the same color palette. So for this one, I've taken my friend Lois's suggestion on a color palette, and we're using Bermuda Bay, Night of Navy, and Pacific Point. So what you need for this is you need 3 card bases. So if you start with a full sheet of cardstock, then you just cut it in half. So you get 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. You could certainly cut it the long way and have it open from the top as well. But either way, as long as you have that able to hold the card horizontally, because that's how the orientation works on this one. Okay, so that's your half a sheet of cardstock. And then from whatever's left, you're going to cut 3.5 by 4.5. Okay, and that way we're going to stamp on all 3 of these the exact same way, cut them into 3 panels, and then mix them up on the card fronts. Okay, so that way it's going to be a fast way to get the multiple cards. You don't have to do each one individually. I've already stamped and pre-cut some sentiments to use on that, and I've used all 3 of them are from the same stamp set here, the Celebrate Sunflowers. Now for the ink colors, there are a couple ways you can do this, and I will show you both so we can see what they look like. You can use all black, which is obviously easier when you're stamping. You don't have to clean your stamps off, or you can do a tone-on-tone look. So that one just means cleaning off the stamp when you go to the next color. So we'll do both and see what they look like. And you know I like to show lots of examples. Okay, so I have my Stamparatus here all set up. And what I did was I oriented my piece of 3.5 by 4.5 cardstock on my Stamparatus using the grid paper. I like to always match it up with one of the corners here, and I've even marked exactly which row and column I'm lining up with. Ignore this, that's from a previous project. So that I can do each of these pieces of paper the exact same way. And because these are kind of big stamps and I'll be covering the whole piece, I didn't want to put this one up in the corner, which is very convenient, because sometimes pushing the plate down way up here in the corner is difficult based on where the hinge is. You're not going to get something really, really firmly placed up at the top here. So if you were doing a sentiment over here, it's fine to line it up in the corner, and that's the most precise, obviously, when you're using the Stamparatus. Or if you were just going to be inking your paper on the other end, that would be perfectly fine. But because this is going to cover the whole thing, I just moved it down. So I mark on my grid paper where it's going to line up for each of the colors. And I'm going to minimally use my magnets to where I know my stamps have a little bit of space. So I've laid these down where I want them positioned to cover as much of the space as possible, and folded it over to pick up the stamps. Okay, so you can see this is where they're going to be laid out. So I wanted to cover as much as possible with these stamps so I could do them all at once. If you don't have enough stamps with the same set, you can maybe add some other things, like if you have some little speckles or dots or something like that, or you can stamp one part of it and then move it over to a measured spot and then, you know, stamp again, and you can manage getting different areas stamped on there. But make sure you're able to line up each piece of paper the same way, because that's going to be the effect that we're going for today. You could certainly do it, mix and match them, but this is kind of the effect that we're looking at for today. Okay, so I'm going to ink these all up. I'm going to use just Memento Black on all of these. So we're going to ink those up. Okay, it's helpful to keep one of your stamp boxes underneath here to keep this level. That way it's easier to ink up. And you don't have to worry quite as much of getting full coverage, because you can always go back and do it again. That's the beauty of the Stamparatus. So for doing multiples and for re-inking things that didn't come out, it's a good tool to have. Okay, so I can see I need a little bit more in there in the center of the sunflower. And I'm going to make sure that I cover that whole sunflower, even though I just need a little bit here, because if you go on the edge, you might still see that line, the edge of the sunflower. I don't want that to come out. Okay. All right, so that looks good there, if you can see that. Then I'm going to take that off, do the same thing on each of the other colors. So that was Pacific Point. This one is Night of Navy, and the other is Coastal Cabana. Well, 3-panel cards are fun to do in many different ways. Okay, so you can use DSP to do this and make it even easier, but I wanted the sunflowers, and I saw some other cards that used the sunflowers, and I really liked it. So that's why I'm casing that to some degree. And we'll just do that on with each of the colors. Okay, that looks good. And then the Bermuda Bay. Okay. Ta-da! There we go. Okay, so we'll put that aside. And now we're going to cut these into 3 panels. So bring back my trimmer. We're going to hold them horizontally. I guess I didn't mention that before. I'm sorry, but maybe that was obvious. I'm going to hold it horizontally. So this is the 3.5 inch, and this is the 4.5 inch. So 4.5, we're going to divide by 3, so it's 1.5 inches each. So we're going to cut at 3 and then 1.5. Okay, there's one. Oh, my paper's slipping. 3. And then we have all 3 right here ready to go. Okay, so then we're going to take our white layer, which is 3 3/4 by 5. And this is going to get layered on our card base. Is that the right way? There we go. There's the folds. Have them upside down. So that's 3 of those. And for the inside of your card, because these are dark layers, you will use your regular layer size that we often use, which is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so you need 3 at 4 by 5 1/4 and 3 at 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, so then once these are on here, we're just going to mix and match the panels to be on the different card bases. Now, you can arrange them however you like. I tend to like having the middle one the same color as the card base, but it's totally up to you. You can play around with it and see what looks good. But for some reason, I just find it balances a little better. And then from there, you can mix it up. Just have one of each color. So let's put our Bermuda Bay over here, and then the Pacific Point over here, leaving a little bit of a gap in between each one, that 1/8 of an inch, so that you have the same amount of space all the way around. Okay, so now this one can go over here, and this one here, and then this one. It's just like piecing the puzzle together. So this is where it's kind of fun to see that you have that same image continuing from panel to panel. It could certainly be any random image. They don't have to match up, but that's kind of the fun of this technique. So now that quickly you have 3 cards that you can put together. And then from there you can put your sentiments on. So I'll show you very quickly a way that I like to make sure I have these centered and balanced using my grid paper. Okay, I love this. The top part starts at 0 in the middle, and you have the measurements going out, so it's easy to find centers on things. I'm going to take my white piece, and this piece could certainly be a different color. I've seen it look really nice with black as well. So I will try some with black at some point. So this is going to go out to 2.5 by 2.5 because it's 5 inches, right? So I know here's my center, and I will take my center panel and find the center of that. So that's going to be 3/4 of an inch, right? Because it's 1.5 inches. So even if you don't want to think of the numbers, I could see my 0 here and goes over 3 squares, which is 1/4 inch, and another 3 squares over here. And if I hold this straight with the horizontal grid lines, I can then also make sure it lines up down here with the same vertical grid lines. And that way I know I'm not getting it a little crooked or looking a little askew. All right, so that's how I know I like to balance that. So I'll just put this together really, really quickly. I mean, you all know how to glue, but I just want to show you the finished product real quick. And oops, what am I doing? Oh. There you go, slipped over a little bit. So then the only thing you have to eyeball is the amount of space on the top and the bottom. Okay, and then you piece your other panels on there. All right. And because I'm centered, I know I'm going a 1/2 of a block over from the one, and I'm going to the 1/2 mark over here too. So, or you could just eyeball it, whatever you're comfortable with. Some of us are more type A personalities than others, right? Okay, so look how nice and bright that is. Love those color combinations. Love it, Lois. Thank you for that suggestion. And then from here, you can either glue it straight down or you can pop it up on dimensional dots. Just to save a little time, I will glue it. And because this is kind of your focal point, you don't want to take away too much attention from that by putting extra ribbons or embellishments or whatever, but you certainly can fill in maybe some of those spaces if you like. And then from there you can put on one of your sentiments, and I will raise this one up on dimensionals. Make sure you have the center of these little strips supported. You don't want them sagging. That would look kind of sloppy. So be careful. Don't cheat out on your dimensionals. You get a lot in a package. It's well worth it. Okay, and so I'm looking over. I'm seeing a little bit of a space here, so that could be a good spot for my sentiment there. So I'm not going to make you watch me do all these because you get the idea, but I will show you options. Okay, this is with my rectangular postage punch, and then this one I did the banner cut. Okay, so you can put your sentiment obviously wherever you like. Okay, so I'll put those all together and we'll see how they turn out. Okay, and then of course you will put your 4 by 5 1/4 pieces on the inside, and you can even stamp one of those little flowers. So those will all get put together later. I love those. It makes me think of the Caribbean. Let me show you this on Facebook. One of my followers, Mary, came up with a color palette of, and this is colors I wouldn't necessarily think to put together, but it works. Starry Sky, Cajun Craze, and Crushed Curry. So here are her cards with that same stamp. Okay, so it works. You have 3 different card bases, just mix and match them, and I love it. It looks kind of collegiate to me, doesn't it? I don't know, for some reason it looks like some college colors or whatever, but I love it. Very nice. Different, I love the suggestions because we don't always think of them all, right? It's nice to have those extra things. Okay, so we're going to now go with my friend Nadine's color palette, and she chose Soft Succulent, Mint Macaron, and Pool Party. Look how nice and soft and pretty those are. And I told Nadine these are so her colors. We're going to try some tone-on-tone stamping here. I'm going to line up the Soft Succulent. Get this more on the camera. And we will try another one of Nadine's favorites, the Forever Fern. Okay, I chose this one because I think it works well with those colors, but also there are a lot of different stamps that we can use around this piece of cardstock. So, oops, we're just going to take those all out and play around with a placement. And we have a lot of options here. And then afterwards, if I still feel I want to fill in some spaces, there's that little speckle that I can fill in if I wanted to later. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. I want the magnets to take up less space. You know what? I think that looks good just like that. All right, so once they're aligned where you want them to be, close your Stamparatus plate and pick them all up, and they'll be in the same spot each time. Okay, I will put this underneath to keep this plate level so I can ink up the stamps. Bring it over, make sure I'm not hitting the magnets. There we go. So we're doing tone on tone, Soft Succulent ink on the Soft Succulent cardstock. Look how pretty that is. I love it. And like I said, if I wanted to, while I have the ink out, I think I will take those speckles and fill in just a little bit. Now these probably don't have to be so precise. Most people aren't going to notice, ooh, that one was turned or whatever. But and I think I will stamp off first to get a little bit lighter speckle in between. Just to fill in what's called white space. White space doesn't have to be white. It just means that it's blank. Okay. Beautiful, right? I'm going to do that with each one. Make sure you clean your stamps first. If you want to be a little, save a little time, sometimes people start with their lightest color so you don't have to be quite as precise as going on to the next color if it's darker. But either way, be diligent. Don't make any mistakes. Love the chamois. I've cut mine into pieces. I have maybe like 2/3 of it up here and then some smaller pieces so I can do this. It's a little easier to clean them, especially when it's on the Stamparatus. I can just take that little piece like a sponge and go over it. Okay, so on to mint macaron. Okay, so pretty. And let's take, I already pre-cut a bunch of these layers, so it's easy to throw together. All right, let's plan out how we want it. There. Okay, so how pretty is that? Like I said, if you wanted a different color in the background, feel free. If you wanted a more dramatic look, you could use black or maybe a gray or crumb cake. So we'll put those all together. And I took some sentiments from the Forever Ferns set. Used 3 of those sentiments. I will cut these down and put those on a little bit later, so you'll see the finished product. This one is the Lovely Labels punch that I use on here. All right, so that's 1 inch wide. So there you go. We have those. We have the ones inspired by Mary, and then the ones we just did today, inspired by Lois's color. Okay, so all different ideas, and I will do some the other colors that were suggested on Facebook. Retta suggested Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, and Crumb Cake. Again, another soft, kind of reminds me of the beach color combination. And Allison was thinking fall when she chose Crushed Curry, Old Olive, and Poppy Parade. So, again, probably colors I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. I don't use Poppy Parade all that much, but now I'm thinking, yeah, what a great combination, right? So I'll try something with hers. And I'm thinking of maybe using the Daisy Garden on hers. I know she said fall, but the daisies come out late summer and they last into the fall. So I just thought that might look nice with hers. Retta's, I'm not sure what I'll do with. Maybe the Friends Are Like Seashells, because it looks beachy to me. And then Karen has Mossy Meadow, Mango Melody, and Blackberry Bliss. So again, other sort of fall colors. And I was thinking either the painted poppies could work nicely on there, or the color contours. I wouldn't do the filler. I would just use the outline. So we'll see. We'll see how those come out. Watch the end of the video, visit my Facebook page, and we'll see some of those results as soon as I get them done. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Come back soon.